November 16th, 2021. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy of those in attendance. Thank you very much. This is the 5:30 p.m. study session. SS-1 American Resolution Plan, AA or ARPA of 2021. Mrs. Spear.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So I am here to present to you information regarding the American Rescue Plan Act. And I have a pretty lengthy presentation that is full of a lot of very useful information. So I'm going to ask that we let me get through the presentation and then we'll ask questions at the end, if you don't mind. Okay.
Do you need to know how to use the machine?
I think they thought it ran out of batteries earlier, and I think it might have. Okay, so the American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law by President Biden in March of 2021, which amended the Social Security Administration section of the Code of Federal Regulations, and it added two sections, 602 and 603. The one that we need to pay attention to is section 603 because that created the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. So those are the funds that local governments can use per the guidance for coronavirus fiscal recovery elements. On May 17th, 2021, the Department of the Treasury issued the interim final rule, which is essentially the rules for how those funds can be spent. Issuance of the final rule is pending. They opened it up to a comment period that ended on July 16th of 2021, and we're still pending the final rule. And so far, there hasn't been any indication as to when that's going to be issued by the U.S. Treasury. Okay, so just as a breakdown, the city of Lemoore is expected to receive $6,393,188 in ARPA funding. That's the allocation that was established by the federal government for non-entitlement units, specifically for the city of Lemoore. We've received half of that. So in July of 2021, we received $3,196,594, and the second disbursement is expected a year later. So in July of 2022, which will happen in fiscal year 2023 for our budget. Funds may be used upon disbursement and through December of 2024, with the exception of infrastructure projects that are committed by this council. So if you have a large infrastructure project that you'd like to use these funds on, and we start that project, we have until December of 2026 to expend the funds. The reason for that is because sometimes design and construction take a long time, and they want to make sure they give us a chance to spend the money effectively. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is truly a discussion. You have the legal authority to make decisions during a study session. They get reported, and we're doing this in the open session. So as we go through this, I'm going to ask that council try to prioritize projects that I'm recommending or I'm presenting to you, or any others that you might think of that city staff hasn't thought of yet. And we're going to talk about what the rules are. It's important to note that City Council has already taken action, and we'll discuss a little bit more about this later, to commit $2.5 million of those funds already. So we're talking about spending $3.8 million. That's the figure that we're trying to meet this evening. So you're going to try to help staff prioritize projects and then, when applicable, assign a value to those projects. What will end up happening is we'll come back again at a later meeting, either in early December or early January. Staff will put together a comprehensive plan for you. And then once City Council ratifies that, we'll come back with a resolution that adopts the entire plan as a comprehensive document. Okay. This is where things start getting interesting. So the interim final rule establishes criteria for how the funds can be spent, but they give recipients broad flexibility on how they want to use those funds. I say that with the caveat that most of this is related to COVID-19 mitigation and prevention measures and response. So the first category is supporting public health expenditures by funding COVID-19 mitigation efforts. Most of what's written in the interim final rule applies to like public health facilities. So hospitals, county public health departments, ancillary urgent cares, but there are some things that we can think of as an employer that might qualify. That's funding vaccination programs, mandatory testing programs, purchase of PPE for COVID-related personal protective equipment, or public communication efforts related to COVID in order to try to help prevent the spread of COVID, and capital investments into projects, which can include technology. The next category is to address negative economic impacts. This category is a very broad, a broadly defined category that is to be used for support of small businesses, nonprofit agencies. You could even choose to give some sort of loan or grant to households specifically related to COVID-related programs if you wanted to do so. It also can be used to help the city rehire public sector positions that we lost during the pandemic. And they give you a metric. So basically positions that we lost between fiscal year 19 and fiscal year 20 would qualify. It also is to help the speedy recovery of tourism and travel. You have to remember these guidelines are federal guidelines. So a lot of the agencies that have received funds, some of them upwards of $50 million, were agencies or areas that were largely supported by tourism revenue. That isn't something that really impacted the city all that much, but if the city wanted to give some sort of contribution to the tourism industry of Lemoore, you could do that as well. You can also use these funds to build internal capacity. So if you wanted to establish some sort of COVID-related program and we needed additional staff to do that, you could consider hiring additional personnel for that purpose as well, or bringing back any other positions that we haven't already brought back that were eliminated due to budget crises as a result of COVID. The other eligible use, which we have discussed and you guys have taken action on, is the premium pay. So City Council, through negotiations with the bargaining units, has already agreed to provide premium pay to city workers. That's allowed under the interim final rule as well. And you can make these payments to eligible employees through December of 2024. And we'll talk more in a moment about what those actual dollars were that have already been committed. And lastly, you can make investments into water, wastewater, or broadband infrastructure. So water infrastructure projects can include anything from distribution and treatment, removal of lead pipes, transmission facilities, storage systems like a water tank. Wastewater is going to be treatment, stormwater treatment, storm drainage systems. And broadband is to create or to implement a more robust broadband infrastructure by providing broadband to a service group. Again, these are federal guidelines. So some entities that got money, so let's say a school district or county offices of education that have their own technology departments that provide internet to their constituents, this is something they can do. There is a caveat that, and if you wanted to use it for broadband infrastructure, you would have to provide systems that provide download and upload speeds of 100 megabytes or more. And we don't already have that system, but you could consider that if that's what you wanted to spend the money on. So City Council has already committed some of the funding. So in October and November, City Council adopted resolutions and memorandums of understanding that established premium pay for city employees. And there's a breakdown for you on the fiscal year basis on how this is going to play out. But it's approximately 2.5 million of your ARPA funds over the next 3 to 3.5 fiscal years. That $2.5 million figure is an approximation because it's going to depend on tax implications at the time of disbursement, how many people are employed at the time of disbursement, and several other flexible variables. But roundabout, it's about 2.5 million. So again, we have $3,893,000 that council needs to help staff identify how you'd like that spent between now and December of 2024. So now we have some potential projects. These are just projects that city staff has gone over and would like to put out in front of council for determination. But again, if there's anything you guys have been thinking of separately from this, this is really an opportunity for the 5 of you to have a conversation about how you'd like the funds spent. So one of the potentials is salary and benefits for positions that have been reinstated. So in the fiscal year 22 budget, we reinstated 2 positions. We reinstated an HR position in the HR division at a management analyst level. And we reinstated a police officer position that had been previously unfilled due to budget constraints. The total cost for that for fiscal year 22 is about $211,000. If council decided that you wanted to spend ARPA funds for those positions, you could this year at 211,000. And you can anticipate that between now and December of 2024, those expenditures will increase by about 5 to 10% annually, just based on inflation and other benefits provided to employees and tax rates. You can also add additional personnel for COVID compliance, which we discussed briefly a moment ago. So if you have a program that's going to require some sort of compliance review, internally, as you know, we're pretty short-staffed. And so if we needed additional hands in order to make those programs feasible, that's something council could consider. The next option is the enterprise resource planning software. So we've talked a lot in the last few weeks about the software that we have procured in order to increase efficiencies to help decrease COVID concerns. So it's going to really provide an opportunity for more services to be provided online to our constituents rather than having them come into the building. So it's going to provide services for anything from recreation signups to building permit applications to building inspections. It's going to have all of the finance applications available, utility billing payments, etc. So if council decided that they wanted to use ARPA funds for this, the total cost through December of 2024 is approximately 1.56 million. Again, this year alone in fiscal year 22, we've budgeted for the implementation that's going to occur in this fiscal year, and that's approximately 430,000 to the general fund. So if council decided that they wanted to use ARPA funds, that would free up $430,000 in the general fund. And that money is either going to go back because we have a deficit to shore the gap, or council could choose to reallocate that money. Next, you have an ability to provide a payment to nonprofits and to small businesses. In most cases, those payments are to be made for COVID mitigation and prevention programs. So if council wanted to provide funding to nonprofits, and there was a nonprofit out there that wanted to provide rental assistance or utility assistance or payroll assistance to local businesses, you could set aside money and the city would be responsible for receiving applications on like an approved program, and we could fund nonprofits to run COVID programs. The caveat is that we also have the ability to fund or to provide a stipend, if you will, or an allocation to the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Association. The difference with them is that although they're not a nonprofit, they are a volunteer association that has provided direct COVID-related response during the pandemic. My understanding is that they responded to nearly 1,000 calls for COVID-related exposures and ill patients in the city limits alone since COVID started. And so as a nonprofit, they are eligible. They were not eligible during the discussions of premium pay purely because premium pay is paid out through payroll, and because they're a volunteer association, they aren't paid through payroll. So this is a way to compensate them for their services and their future services for COVID response. And again, you could also allocate additional funds for COVID-19 programs for other nonprofits as well. Then lastly, we discussed this. I want to talk just briefly about what could be happening with the city of Lemoore. I'm sure many of you are aware of the federal guidelines that were just issued on November 4th for mandated vaccine and testing requirements for employers with over 100 employees. Those rules do not apply specifically to the city of Lemoore yet because we don't fall under federal OSHA. All California employers fall under Cal OSHA guidelines. Cal OSHA has the option to either adopt the federal guidelines as written, or they have to report to the federal government by the end of this week that they plan to adopt their own emergency temporary standards. And they can either adopt as drafted by the feds, or they can choose to take a more aggressive approach. It just can't be less aggressive than the federal standard. Having said that, I think the state has already indicated they plan to draft their own emergency temporary standards. And when they do so, they have to have them published no later than December 5th. So sometime between now and December 5th, we're going to have a better idea about what is required. When those emergency temporary standards are issued, the city of Lemoore would be an employer that must comply with those standards. If we make the assumption that they're going to loosely follow the federal guidelines, that means vaccine and or testing requirements for all of our employees with a pretty significant reporting requirement. The reason this particular item is on here is because if council wanted to set aside funding to either help with the cost of testing, which the guidance right now says that has to be borne or can be borne by the employee, not by the employer. So if council wanted to set money aside to help fund a mandated testing program, you could choose to do that. You could also choose to, use it to hire a compliance officer that's going to help evaluate and make sure we stay compliant. But there is no obligation for council to spend funds for those items. There's no obligation for you to spend those funds on any of these. These are just ideas that city staff has. Additional proposed projects. The water fund has approximately $20 million in need for capital projects over the next 5 fiscal years. We're looking at right now a fund balance of somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.5 to 6 million. This number does not include any costs that are associated with any incidents that have occurred. This is just normal capital projects that occur regularly as part of operation of a water system. So if council wanted to set aside ARPA funds for use for water capital projects, that would be something that would be considered a priority by staff, because the water fund currently doesn't have enough money coming in to support its needs over the next 5 years. And I know this is a lot of data, but this is largely to be a discussion amongst the 5 of you. So in recap, we're looking to try to spend another 3.89 million over the course of the next 3 years, right? Yeah, 3 years. Potential projects are the software, water infrastructure, payments to the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Association or other nonprofits, reinstatement of staff. So some of the reinstatement has already occurred, but you could agree to establish ARPA as the funding source for a time to be determined by council, COVID compliance, and anything else you guys can think of. What I need in order to move forward is some guidance from council tonight about a priority. Like if there's any of these projects up here that you think truly are a priority, I'd like council to give me some sort of consensus about what those projects are. And if at all possible, what your threshold is. So if you want to say, yes, we want to fund the software, but we only want to fund it to the first $1 million, then that gives me enough to go back and try to start building a program with what's left. So I'm here to help guide the conversation with you. I'll answer as many questions as I can. We do have some members of the public present that might want to speak, and we do need to have a public comment section. If there's any members of the public on Zoom that want to respond, but I'm kind of just here to guide the conversation and hopefully get some takeaways from this group tonight so that we can come back with some actual plans for you at a future meeting. Yes, sir.
Have we thought or looked into having a ad hoc committee about this with a group of council, group of citizens, a group of city employees, get a committee together, and we do this openly with utilizing some of the city input, the citizens' input?
No, that's what tonight's all about. You tell me
Okay.
how council would like to move forward, and we can help make that happen for you.
Okay.
Tonight was just to kind of give you the nuts and bolts of what is allowed and not allowed. I fully expect there are going to be questions about specific ideas you might have that are going to take some research, both by myself and probably the city attorney, and maybe even reaching out to the state. So really, this is just kind of throwing spaghetti noodles at the wall. So if that's something you guys want to consider and that's a direction you want to give, we'd be happy to put something together.
Council, my question is, would you guys be opposed to creating something that allows us to have city employee, not only the city staff input, but also the citizens input to help us make our decisions?
I would have no problem with that. However, what I want to address is the agenda. And the agenda states that it's the American Rescue Plan Act study session, right?
Yes, sir.
How many people do you think in our community know what the American Rescue Plan Act is?
I don't know.
I think I would guess probably if I asked 10 people, maybe one might know. You know, if we're talking about getting rid of $6 million, I think we should state that in a public document. We might have more people in public online and here in attendance talking about, well, I got some ideas. I'd like to, talk about it too.
That's my thought process behind getting behind a committee where we can get this, see if we can get community input to help us. Or do we want to just throw it on the wall and us 5 figure out what's best for the city. I mean,
I would much rather have an ad hoc group, like you say, or group, whatever we call it. But after there's a lot more information, a lot more discussion, there's no time sequence that we have to spend it today, or we have to make a plan today.
No, only that it has to be spent by December of 2024 or December of 2026 for committed infrastructure projects. So no, this isn't an urgent issue, if you will. So we have time to put a
And
group
it's not,
together.
it's not dependent upon, I mean, the way we built the budget, but it's not dependent necessarily on having the budget survive.
No.
Right.
no.
Mm-mm. So there is nothing in here that says that for appropriate terminology that we can't supplant, meaning that if we've budgeted for an item that we can't go back and use these grant funds to then pay for it, that based on the interim final rule, that is allowed.
Right.
Yes.
So can I get us to get a concession, or what do you think? Or how do you think you guys want to do that? That's the word I was trying to get. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with that, Mayor?
I give consent.
Vice Mayor? Mr. Cheney?
Okay with that.
Does that end the discussion, or is there still discussion that we can have today as well?
I'm not real well versed on
Probably
this
gonna be
process, so I'm going
Mary's
to defer to
question.
Mary.
Yeah, so the discussion can continue. The idea behind the ad hoc committee is that it sounds like you want community input, staff input, maybe give some direction about, how many community members. It can only be 2 members of council, so
Yeah,
that you don't have a quorum. And then the idea is that then the ad hoc committee would come back to council with their recommendation on the expenditure of the funds, having used the input from staff and the community as well. But you can still continue with the discussion.
yeah, no, that's what I just wanted to see if we could get agreement with the 5 of us to create that. And I understand that we can only have 2, and then maybe talk about how many citizens do we want? Do we want 2 citizens? Do we want 4 citizens? And build something with our ideas, and then have city staff.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So
100%.
Councilmember Gornick had mentioned that if we went to our local residents, that maybe 1 out of 10 might know what this act is. So now we're going to ask them to be part of an ad hoc committee that has almost a 200-page guidance on what they can be used for. I mean, I guess my question is that the best use of our residents? So we've outlined some pretty big ticket items here that leave plenty of room for conversations. So I'm just curious, are we putting people in a position where,
I'd like to give.
I
them
mean,
the
it's 100,
opportunity
it's
so they could say
190,
no.
69 pages.
I don't, my point is, I don't think they know what this is about. And I would like to say, we're distributing almost $6 million that's potentially coming to us, and we'd like your input.
Yeah, if we have to spend, let me interrupt you, Frank. If I have to spend, or whoever the council chooses to be on this committee, if one of us has to spend 30 minutes of doing what you did a great job, and we may involve you to do it again, but
We can just give the presentation out.
that's what I'm saying.
No, and
And obviously our citizens are not going to understand all the nuts and bolts of the 209 or 600 page. I don't understand the 600 page, and I have it on my computer, but I'm just saying, I would like our citizens, I believe that our citizens should have a say, whether they understand it or don't understand it, to say, hey, you know what, we see your capital improvements in water, and we would rather you guys spend it here and here and here. It's their opinion. And then we decide, we're ultimately the 5 of us, we answer to 27,000 people. So we have to ultimately, I want to hear their input. And then the 5 of us are going to decide, are we going to spend $6 million or $3,893,000 on this or this? And then we all kind of can sleep at night.
so can I ask a clarifying question?
100%.
So it's my understanding that on an ad hoc committee, you can also have a city staff member that serves as a facilitator, right? As someone that's there to give the information out. And if council wants that to be me, I'm more than happy to do that. And I can
Yes.
reiterate this presentation.
Yes,
Um,
that's the research I did, that it has to be 2 of us, or it doesn't have to.
Not
be.
more than 2 of
Not
you,
more
yeah.
than 2. It has to be some city staff, and then it has to have a facilitator, which
Yeah, and I'm
Ding,
happy
ding,
to.
ding, you win. And if you want it, I'm not telling you you have to.
No, and I'm totally fine doing that.
And then I don't know what we want, what.
Yeah,
so-
how
so
many
then
community members?
So
Some
then does it
community-
have to have two city staff and a facilitator, or can the facilitator be one of the city staff?
I don't think there's a requirement to have a certain number
Okay.
of city staff. It's
then-
just you can't have more than 2 council members.
Yeah. So
We're the only
then,
ones limited.
so then we can have 6 people on this. We could have 2 council members, 2 citizens, and you,
10 people.
and
if you
one
want
other.
10 people.
oh,
Yeah,
you
you can
want
do
10?
whatever you, no, I'm just saying, you
You want to,
can do whatever you want.
not
And-
round numbers.
And I don't
sorry.
want to get this conversation
Okay.
more muddy. I totally understand what you're asking for and I completely agree. But council's also going to tell us how you want the citizens selected. Like there has to be a selection criteria unless you're
Well,
gonna
yeah,
like not,
so-
like, is each one of you gonna nominate 2 people from each of your districts to come and represent? Like, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
need a little bit more guidance on how you want to choose those people, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, I did, I thought of that aspect. I think 2 from everything is a lot.
I was just throwing that out there as
No,
an
I know.
example.
I was thinking we could put it on the internet, on all of our social media. Hey,
Yeah.
we're looking at having a
Have people apply.
ad hoc committee apply, and then we'll select them.
So council will select the community members. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I was thinking, or.
Okay.
Is that okay? I mean,
Sure.
yeah, we'll select the committee and then we'll meet, pick a date, we'll meet.
And are you saying 2 staff members, myself as the facilitator and 1 more?
Yeah. I
Well,
think that's fine, don't you think? Or what do you think, Patty?
I don't know, I like, I feel like maybe if you're facilitating, maybe we need 2
Yeah,
other staff members.
Okay, these are your rules. I'm gonna just try, I
No,
just
no,
want to
I
make sure
just-
that I can put the committee together so that we can like get moving.
This is all new, so.
Um,
I didn't really think the staff side of it, but I know we need a facilitator and maybe, so. How
do
about
you
we
want to let the city manager select the 2 staff members?
I'm okay with that. I don't,
Sorry, I'm trying to drive this conversation.
I'm
It's
not
not my
gonna get
idea.
into the weeds.
That-
You need the
He runs our
details.
city. He runs our city. If he wants to pick 2 staff members, I'm
So
totally okay with that.
Michelle facilitating will be a huge plus.
I agree.
The other person that's very well versed on this is Amanda Champion.
I'm
the
okay with that
management- The
too.
management analyst at HR who's been involved in public works and is transitioning. So I would say those would be 2 really good individuals.
Okay, so we got our 2 staff members.
Is that's
Is it gonna be
sufficient?
2
you think?
plus her?
Pardon me?
Is that, do
No.
you think that's sufficient, the 2 of them?
Yeah.
You think
Yeah,
you
'cause
2
they're gonna
can
be
do
able to
it?
Answer anything that comes
Okay.
up.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, Amanda and I can handle discussion. That's fine.
Okay, so now let's figure out which 2 council members would like to be on this.
I'd like to volunteer.
Okay, would anybody else like to volunteer?
I would like to volunteer.
Mr. Cheney, all right. So there's the,
So is there consensus for that, for the 2 employees, the 2 council members, and then the selection process for the residents?
yes.
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 Councilmember Gornick, are you good with that?
Oh, yeah.
And Councilmember Cheney?
Yes.
Okay, so now we have our 4 people. Now, how many citizens do we want on this? Do you want 3? Do you want 5, 25?
No, not 25.
Okay, give us a,
Jim.
I think that somebody had thrown it out that 2 citizens from each district. And I would be in favor of that because different areas within the city have different needs and wants. And so I think that 2 people from each district would be appropriate.
That's 14 people altogether. Is that feasible or is that chaos?
I mean, and Mary, please correct me if I'm wrong, but ad hoc committees are really designed as kind of like a study session like we're having here. It's an idea flowing conversation and it's going to provide a recommendation to council, but they're not
that's gonna be a
They're
lot.
not-
It feels like that's gonna be a lot.
decision-making bodies.
Yeah.
Getting 14 minds to agree on anything is a near impossibility,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that 14 different sets of ideas isn't valuable. So it's really what you guys are looking for.
I think it's a great idea. In a perfect world, I think 2 per would be great. I'm gonna be quite honest, looking at the camera, I don't think we're gonna get 14 people. It's actually 10. I don't think we're gonna get 10 citizens to apply. 2 from every district. I don't think so. We may, but
That's why I think an application probably,
Probably
someone that
just
wants
look-
to do it.
yeah, let's just do an application program, and if we get 2 from every district,
You'll be lucky.
that's a win. If we get 3 people,
You want to try and get as much broad distribution as you
Yeah.
can, but.
yeah, we'd like to get the most, but
Go with what you got.
we can't, I mean, do you think, Jim, you
No,
could get 2 people from
I
your district?
agree if there's not 2 from each district, but if there are 2 from each district, I think those, rather than having 10 from your.
My district, that makes sense. I can get on board with that.
We should do that, yeah.
Let's just do the application. And if we get 10 people, 2 from every district, we'll ask for that. But if we don't get it, we fish with what we got.
I have another follow-up clarification question. So on the application to citizens, do you want it to be as simple as name, district, and just like an interest letter, like submit a letter if you're interested? Or do you want you want to ask them, why are you interested in serving? Like, what would you like on the actual application? Is it more like a letter of interest type thing?
Probably like a letter of interest. I mean, I don't, Mary, I mean, do you, just like, I mean,
we have an
I mean,
application that we
interrupt your
use for
reading, but-
people to serve on commissions, like the Parks and Rec Commission and the Planning Commission. I mean, we can tailor it something
that.
similar
Do
to that.
Yeah.
that's why, I figured we had a
Okay.
Park and Recs.
Yeah,
commission,
we
you
do.
know.
And it asks for a little bit more detail, but we'll just omit the stuff that we don't think is
Yeah,
relevant.
I think it's just basic, just information. And obviously we're gonna have a couple meeting, at least 1 or 2 meetings, and they're gonna have to be there. And I think the meetings need to be held in the evening. Do you guys agree, or?
Well, if you're gonna be there, they will.
I gotta be there because I work, so,
I mean,
and I'm sorry to make you work another night, but
No, I really don't mind. I just, we.
now
need
who
to
all
try to-
has to be there? Just,
My understanding is ad hoc committees do not follow Brown Act
They do
rules.
not.
They do
You
not.
won't need to
So-
notice an agenda.
can we do it in here?
You could.
Or we could do it next
Whatever's
door.
convenient.
We could do it in the large conference room at the city hall
At the city hall?
office, like,
Okay.
depending on how many people we have. I think we can fit 10 or 12 in that
Do we-
room
Do we
comfortably.
have to videotape it? Do we want to videotape it?
Does-
You'd need all kinds of consent and waiver. I wouldn't recommend
No.
videotaping it.
No, I didn't think so either. I just wanted to,
Yeah.
Right.
so. Just, they'll
Well,
have
I
to be
think-
available.
So do you have enough direction
I think so.
for
Do
an
we
ad
have
hoc
enough?
committee?
Yeah, we'll start
Yes,
putting
we
that
do.
together.
Okay.
And
And
then
can we
my
poss-
understanding is we'll bring the applications back to council for you all to choose the citizens you'd like to participate, correct?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Do you guys have any specific questions on the items that I discussed tonight? Like, do you want to talk about any of these programs or these projects in any more
Yes.
detail than what
I
was
just want to get
provided?
that out of the way.
Okay.
Just that.
Just that. I want to get that.
Darn
And
it.
can- And can we schedule it for the second Tuesday of a month?
That's.
Yeah, but do you want, do you want to let the committee decide what night works best for them, or do you want to pre-establish them?
There you go. That's a better idea.
What you said.
Okay.
Well,
I agree.
it might speed things along if we have a set date that they're gonna meet though.
That's the only reason why.
Trying to
I
get
say-
Okay,
it may-
hold on.
14 people to agree on a date.
Exactly.
It's
It may-
really
it
hard.
may- It may cut some people that don't want to do it. I can't be on that date.
Okay, so I don't know how quickly we can put this together. Ms. Lerner, did they have to choose the committee members in open session? Like, do we have to wait until the next meeting for them to choose the citizen group? Or can they do that? How does that work?
I think ideally it would be best to do it in an open session, but we could do it at a special meeting, which can take place over Zoom or over the phone because you have that resolution in place for
Oh,
your hybrid
okay.
meeting. So, but I think it's best if it were
An
a
open
public
session, yeah.
process.
Okay, so the second Tuesday
Of a month, just-
in December is December 14th. So are we going to pre-establish that as a meeting day?
Well, do we want to do it? Do you think we could get all this done in that time frame, or what do you think we need to move it out to maybe January? What do you guys, I didn't,
Getting the application out is going to take us, we'll have it out by the end of the week. It's going to be a matter of whether or not we can get a special meeting of council established with the Thanksgiving holiday that's coming up next week.
And
If we
that's
can
what-
get one scheduled. Otherwise, we can push it. I mean, do you want to push it till after the holidays and do January 11th as the first meeting?
are you guys okay with that? Because that's what I'm actually leaning towards.
Yeah.
Just
Get all holidays. out.
get all the holidays
Okay.
out of the way and
That's fine. So do you want to schedule January 11th as the first meeting? And then do you want to schedule January 25th as the second meeting if necessary?
Yes.
Is January 11th when they do the Parks and Rec Commission?
Oh, I don't have that calendar. Ms. Clerk, do you know what day?
Yeah,
Second
Yeah.
Tuesday. Yeah, but we could
Oh,
move it if
bi-monthly.
we need to. We haven't been having them.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So then we'll put the application out with the first date of January 11th. And is 6 PM okay?
so
Okay. And then we'll do the other one for January 25th if necessary. Okay.
Is there a consensus of council for those dates? I see only one head person saying sold, so I just
I
want to
would
make
agree,
sure.
yeah. I think
Okay.
January.
Sorry, I was putting it in.
Okay,
yes.
I'm good.
okay,
Good.
thank you.
Okay. Okay. So now do you have any specific questions about anything that I talked about?
Is the,
Yeah, I have a couple of comments on the potential projects.
Sure.
I got a question about reinstatement of staff.
Okay.
and, Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department / nonprofits.
Okay.
So with respect to reinstatement of staff, I guess what I'm concerned about is I don't want to raise expectations that we're going to reinstate staff with these dollars when we're also facing a budget deficit.
Okay.
And I just don't think that's wise to do that. I mean, if at the end of the year, our budget is in the black and, we could do something like that, that's just my opinion.
Okay.
And I have no problem with issuing funds to the volunteer fire department, but there's also a number of other nonprofits. And I guess, I think they should get equal billing if we're going to list those that way for consideration.
Anybody else?
I don't know if we can use the funds for this or not, but I wanted to bring it up just if there was a way to fix the roof on like the senior center, are we able to do that with those funds?
So I'm going to make notes of things you guys asked me about that I'm not 100% sure on. So if the senior center has a nonprofit status,
That would fall under
the only
nonprofit.
problem is that the rules for providing funding to nonprofits is very specific, that it has to be a COVID mitigation or prevention program that they're going to run. So let me look to see what the guidance says, because if they're having financial difficulty due to COVID, we might be able to get it through under like a COVID recovery for them as a senior center. There is guidance that says that they do want to advocate and make sure that municipal governments pay attention to like underrepresented and unrepresented groups. So maybe there's a way to get that put through as an organization for the elderly. So I will look into that.
But, in section 3222, there's nutrition services, and in section 3223, there's continuity of service and opportunities for participants in community service activities under the Older Americans Act. So, that's something you could explore too, that maybe if they can't continue those services without a new roof, they can.
now who owns the senior center?
Seniors.
The seniors own it?
It was a city building, but the city signed over ownership to the senior center. It would go back to the city should they choose over the next 8 years now, not to keep it operating as a senior center. It would default back to the city.
Do they have a nonprofit? Do we know?
I do not believe they're a nonprofit. I think they're a private organization. But I don't believe they're a nonprofit. They're for profit. That's why they have all their that's why they do their fundraising and their bingo
Yeah.
and stuff to pay the bills to keep the lights on.
The intent of these funds and is to give council or other governing bodies kind of a broad range of things. And to be quite honest, I think that as long as we can justify that there was a population that suffered ill effects from COVID, that as long as we can say that providing that assistance is going to help to restore that level of service that was lost. And Mr. Gornick brings up a good point. If what we're doing is going to help provide nutritional services for senior citizens, as long as our resolution, when we adopt the plan, articulates why this council believes it was necessary, that resolution is going to become basically our defense to any future US Treasury audit that says this is why this was a COVID-related expenditure. And it keeps getting reiterated in the trainings from the league that it really is designed to give governing bodies kind of a broad brush because not every community is the same. Needs are different across the board. So I will definitely look into that. And even if they don't have a nonprofit status, we will present to you the risk. But if council decides that there is a nexus there, then we will do our best to get it included.
I would definitely like to look into that. Our seniors deserve it, in my opinion. Now, have we looked into, I know that there's, with this whole OSHA law going down to us, to where we're gonna have to either mandate or test. Have we looked in, do we know what it would cost to COVID test one person weekly?
I do not. So I have reached out to the county to see if that's a service they provide. And so far, what I have found is that they don't, but there's probably private agencies that will come and do that now. If council would like me to look into the cost for that, then I'm happy to do so. I just haven't done so yet because I didn't know if that was even something this council wanted to consider.
I think we may need to look into that because that may be something we may have to look into
Okay.
going forward. Don't you think, guys and ladies?
I hope not.
Because they're going to, I hope not either.
Well,
I hope the,
I mean, there's other agencies around town that do testing.
Yes.
You can go right across the street from the post office.
Yeah.
I got tested there.
Yep.
Can't we outsource that?
no, we can, but there's a cost.
There's a cost.
Well,
There's a
sure, but
cost.
It's cheaper than hiring somebody to do it.
No, I'm not saying to hire somebody. I'm just saying, look at, because if we have 110 employees and 60% of them don't want to get the COVID shot for whatever their private reasons are, we're still going to have to test 60% of our employees. And that can be, and I don't believe personally, and I'm not speaking for nobody else, I don't think a city employee, I'm not pointing at you, but a city employee should have to pay out of their pocket to do a mandate that the governor or the president thinks that they personally think should be done.
Yeah, I can
I-
definitely look into the research and I'll get a,
I think we need to look into that cost because I don't think our employees should be on the hook for paying for an unfunded liability that,
Do we have any idea how many of our employees are vaccinated?
no.
and I don't think we should ask unless we have to.
I can tell you that I just read an article today from ABC 30. I guess Governor Newsom was in Avenel yesterday, I believe.
Today.
Was it today? And the article I read said that for Kings County residents, for those eligible to be vaccinated, only 38% of the members of this county are vaccinated. What I don't know is if those stats were before or after the FDA approved vaccinations for 5 to 11-year-olds. But we are definitely a much lower
Even if it was,
percentage.
It's pretty low.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Even if it were, it's pretty low.
Right. So, I mean, if you just use that as a metric, we have probably low vaccination rates. At the
Yeah.
agency.
So that's my, I like to look into the cost because
Okay.
we're gonna have to look at that as a cost. And that could be under that COVID compliance, correct?
Yes, that would be an eligible expense under these funds, correct?
Does anybody else have any other questions before we open it to public?
Or any other ideas you'd like me to research?
Yeah. None, seeing none. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open this to public right now. Is So if there's any members of the public that would like to address council,
Oh,
Stay up here, honey. Or, sorry, stay up here, Michelle, sorry.
That's okay. Not offended. No problem, darling.
There you go.
okay.
Good evening, city council members. My name is Bruce Sherman. I am the fire chief for the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department. And I have come to talk. We do have our name up here. And it's been being spread around the fire department, what you guys have given the city employees. And I'm just here to ask for our, I don't want to say fair share, but we would like to get reimbursed for it somehow. What we're looking for, what I'm asking for is $300,000, one-time payment only. It doesn't have to be spread out over 3 years or whatever you guys are doing. 300 grand, we wash our hands of it, we move on. There's 35 of us. If you do the math, I think it's like $8,570, something like that amongst all of us, the 35 of us. Michelle alluded to it earlier. We have done since January of 2020, we have done 977 COVID related calls. We're out there right in the middle of it. We get there, we put our mask on, we put our gloves on, we put our gowns on, we go in with EMS, we do what we do. And obviously we are volunteer, we're doing it for free. We're putting ourselves out there all the time. Even before they finally put a name to COVID, I'll say October, November, December of 2019, we were going to flu-like symptoms is how it's always came across to us. And that's what we were going on. And when we do that, we sit down in front of the guys, and if they say they're difficulty breathing, we put cannulas on them, which is the little tube on them. So we're right in front of their faces. We're in the houses with all the other germs and everything else that's going on. We were right in the middle of it. Then they finally put a name to it. Then we finally started coming around doing what we do. But now that the weather is getting cooler again, the COVID cases are coming up again. But that's what we're asking for. And again, 300 grand one time, and we're done. We're done with it. And that's what we'd like to do. Even now, EMS, I tell people my daughter is the paramedic instructor for EMS and president for the 5 counties that the EMS represents. The ambulance services are short. She's telling me all the time. She's always giving me the updates on what's going on. She's my little secret weapon in the background. She lets me know what's happening, what's coming on, what's going on. But ambulances, we've waited. Everybody always exaggerates, but we did have one call and we kept looking for the ambulance to come. They said their ambulance was an hour and a half out.
That was my call.
Mr. Mayor can back me up on that. That's
I was
legit.
on the call.
Yeah. And there's a lot of times we wait 10 or 15 minutes and we are there. We're in the middle of it. Even if we have our gear on, we're still in the middle of it. We come back to the fire station. I couldn't even tell you what the stuff is, but it's military grade. And we've got it in a little weed blower and we just stand there and we lower ourselves down with it. Now, 20 years from now, it might turn out that it's kind of Agent Orange. I don't know. But that's what we do. And that it's registered to take care of the COVID problem and all that. We wipe our stuff down. We've done a lot. We haven't backed off. We do what we feel that we need to do. And that's what I'm here for for the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department. Again, 300 grand is what we'd like. It's out there that you guys are giving all the employees $20,000. What I'm asking for is even less than half of what you guys are giving those guys. And that's what we want. We just want to be done. Just a one-time deal. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I like the idea of the one-time amount. I would recommend that you divide that number by the 9,000 calls that you've had.
Yeah.
And I will also recommend that it not just necessarily be considered one time, because we don't know what we're in for this next year.
Right.
So,
Well,
my thoughts about it.
Okay. I've had some discussion with a couple of guys over there, our members, and this is because like you say, you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, yeah, you got 3.8 up here. right now, but as Michelle said earlier, that number can change. Something else can happen. We know how the government works. We understand it. And so that's all we're after is, I don't want to say we're easy, but we are. And we just a one-time deal and we're done.
I have one question. Real quick. I'm
Yes.
sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
change it.
absolutely. Go ahead.
And I'm not taking away from anything you guys,
No,
you guys
that-
are the hardest. Next
Mr.
to
Worth,
the
you
police,
you
guys-
can't tell me anything I've never heard.
How much do you think you guys have spent on equipment to the weed blower thingy or whatever that thing?
There
How much
is,
do you think you spent on
Nathan,
that?
what is that COVID things that we're getting from the city?
Going off the top of my head, but we bought the deal for the truck, the fire truck. That was like 10 grand, wasn't it?
11, I think.
We have a running total. It's going to be
Yeah.
somewhere, I think, between
We,
15 to 20 grand. I think. we spent on stuff.
now that you say that, we got a grant for 18 grand, 18,000 and change. And Linda called Faith today and said, we still have $200 left.
Yeah, but that's something you guys wrote
Can I step in for a second?
Absolutely.
separate from that.
And the figure that Mr. German is giving you is the figure for that specific grant, but the city has also provided additional funding to the fire department for other COVID-related PPE. So we provided funding for gloves and for masks, which are consumable, so that's just a recurring cost. Hand sanitizer,
The blowers.
the blower,
No.
so it doesn't stop. It's.
The machines inside the truck, I don't even know what to call those things.
Yeah, they make it COVID free.
Yeah,
No,
we have, and I was going to touch on that. The company that we buy our trucks from, that we have bought several of our trucks from, when this first came out, other companies have come up with this. I'm going to say it's a UV light, and it's about the size of your toaster. And we have mounted them in all our trucks, and they just continually run. And it's UV light. There's just, you can just barely hear them run, but they're sucking the air in, they're treating the air and putting it back out. Our cab is clean when we get in, but again, if we have been someplace we shouldn't have been,
Yeah.
it's coming in the truck with us.
And I wasn't
No. that's-
trying to say we
No.
need to subtract X from Y. I wasn't saying none of that. I
no.
was just asking
Yes.
how
But we
much
have,
your department has spent
yeah.
outside of normal
And I will
operating,
say that
5
we,
years ago
yeah,
on PPE stuff. You obviously have 900 calls.
Yeah.
You've used 900 more sets of.
yes, yeah, because it's
gloves
all,
or
everything
whatever.
we have is a one-time deal.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. I
we
just
wad it up,
wanted
we
to
throw it-
know
We throw it away.
if
Yes.
there was, say you guys spent $20,000 more
Yeah,
last 2 years over
yeah,
5
I
years
wa-
ago.
yeah. I want to say when
Because the city-
when this first started coming through, we were using our fire department budget money to buy stuff. And then the grants and things started showing up to where we could get it. And so whether it all got evened out or not, I don't know.
I don't want to shortchange you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Um,
That's the whole reason why that line of
Yeah,
questioning. I don't want to
absolutely.
shortchange you.
So anyway, I keep repeating myself. I don't talk as good as she does. I sure don't talk as well as Chief Kindle, which I usually call him Officer Kindle. But that's what we're after, you guys and gals, excuse me. So you guys had any questions or?
I have a
anything?
question for Michelle, actually.
Oh.
Regarding your ask. If this falls under, because you guys are not on payroll. So if this follows under nonprofit, do they have to have a plan in place for what they would use?
No, my
Okay.
recommendation is that council could actually authorize a direct allocation to them because they are volunteers providing a service directly related to COVID response. And it would likely fall under
City does not
Um,
have it.
right, because, most of these agencies that are getting these funds have paid fire departments. We are
Mhm.
definitely, a
Blessed.
lucky anomaly. But my argument would be that we're going to use it for this category. To support public health expenditures, mitigation efforts, and in the actual interim final rule, it does say response.
Okay.
So we'll just give them an allocation if council chooses to do so for their past, and if you want to define it as future COVID response. Council could choose to take action tonight and say that, yeah, we have 3.8 million left over, but we want to say tonight that we want to grant, the fire department's request. And then we go into the ad hoc committee with the remainder. I mean, you guys have the authority to make decisions this evening if you so choose.
something I would like to say off of that, to get away from that, but you guys are talking about your ad hoc committee. I deal with 34 other guys over there, other people over there. You guys want to put a committee together and have this, I don't want to say you'll never get there, but what I would suggest out of that 3.8, I would say you guys are going to, this is my own opinion, I would say you guys decide that you're going to spend 2 million of it on what you want. Let the ad hoc committee come up to spend that other 1.8.
That was my thought process.
That is just my own.
I was gonna ask us to create a dollar amount
Yeah.
that we,
Also, you're
Give
talking
access
about,
to them.
I'll just throw this out here because I kind of know. COVID test, $150 each time. That's what it is. Whether
Holy-
you'll get a deal from somebody else, from ARIA or anybody like that, I couldn't tell you, but that's what it is.
well, my doctor charges 100, so I
There you
knew
go.
that it was,
Now-
Dr. Sorensen in Hampton does 100. That
Yeah.
is-
Now, when this first started, we were offered, and I'd have to look back because none of us trusted each other, but we were offered, you can buy, if you have a medical person on staff or whatever, that you can buy a packet of 100 tests. And that person can test that guy right there in-house. He can come in here and he can shove that thing up his nose, make his eyes water.
Do you guys have anyone that qualifies for that?
We chose not to do it because we didn't trust anybody.
So
I'm
on
not
the note
letting
of that,
Yeah,
that,
I-
stick that thing in my nose.
Yeah,
Not
you know,
my
but
plan.
that,
but even
they
right
were,
now-
they were like $10. They're, you know, and it was actually the 15-minute rapid test is what it
Oh,
was.
wow.
yeah.
But he said, because I talked to him multiple times, the guy who was selling them. And it was legit because there were some other fire departments that had done them because they've got paramedics on staff and, you know, they are qualified. But I just chose not to do it.
They might have relaxed that too, because now when you go into the clinics, you're actually swabbing your own nose. They're
Okay.
watching you, but you're physically doing the test yourself. They're just handing you the vial.
So I do want to caution that Cal OSHA has not come out with their guidance, but if it mirrors what the feds have said, self-administered tests will not be allowed. So we can allow employees, assuming we bought test kits, we can allow an employee to come and do a test kit at work where they swab their own nose, but we have to have an administrator present to read the results. So you can't self-test and self-report.
That makes sense, but if he has a medical staff
Yes.
that is, we can use some of this money of reading, saying somebody that we can
Absolutely. Or
create.
you could not contract, but you could find somebody that, I keep saying ARIA because I'm familiar with them. 'cause
Yeah.
We go to them.
My thought
You
process.
could get one of those guys, hey, you know, would you do this for us on Tuesday night,
Yeah. My
5
thought
5
process
to
is
9 or whatever? Yeah.
trying to get that $100 a test down
Yeah.
to, I love his $10 a
Yes.
test. Even if we had to pay the guy $10.
So I don't know if council's aware, but you can buy them over the counter now. So most of the time, you don't even have to have any sort of special training. So I just wanted to let council know that we're not going to be, as it stands now, we won't be allowed for people to buy a self-test at like Rite Aid or Walmart, test at home, and then tell me that they're negative. That won't be allowed,
Now I know.
even if it's the cheapest option.
No,
So-
I understand. I was
Okay.
just looking at other options.
Right.
So-
But yeah, I will do the research.
With that being said, Mr. German, under public comment, I agree with everything the guy has said, 100% support everything he has said. And I'm going to ask council now, if you guys are going to possibly want to make a contribution to the Lemoore Fire Department Association, I'm going to recuse myself. I'm going to recuse myself from the discussion of all of it. And so if you guys are wanting to possibly have that discussion right now, I'm going to recuse myself now. If you're not, then I'll stay.
I would like to have that conversation.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and recuse myself, and yeah, just call me back when.
Do I need to stay here to leave?
Yeah. How many people you got? 35?
Yes. So you said yes, stay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm used to my wife
Okay.
telling me what to do.
Yeah. I'm not your wife, so it's okay. Mary, in this, the question is to us, can we do something here?
You can.
make a motion to, okay, before I make my motion, can we have discussion among us five in front of all these people?
Of course.
Okay. 35 people. You know, we gave 20 to everybody else. They want 8. I think we should do 10. That's my 2 cents, and my motion is gonna be to do 350 to the fire department. So I'll make a motion to give the fire department volunteer under this act 350. Which is 10,000 per person. We gave twice that to everybody else.
So Mayor Pro Tem, you would need a second. Absent a second, the motion would die.
Die.
Is there anybody that would like to second that motion?
And it dies.
Dies
go
for
ahead?
tonight, but can ultimately.
Can I go ahead and make an alternate motion?
You can. That motion is
Can I
dead.
go ahead and make the motion for the 300,000? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, and Mayor Pro Tem, you may want to open it up and see if there's any additional public discussion on this motion.
Is there any additional public discussion? Nobody? Bring it back to council. Do
So you can do the roll call.
I go first because I made the motion? That's weird.
You can go last. That's
Okay.
fine.
Mr. Orth,
Yes.
Mr. Gornick,
No,
Mr. Cheney.
You know,
And then you state your vote.
My vote is yes.
So it's a 2-2, so the motion fails.
I can make a comment.
You can.
Yeah, first of all, I have no problem with acknowledging the work that the fire department has done and continuing this process. I just think we talked about having a committee come up with projects, and now we're going away from that process and doing some action here tonight. If we're going to do an ad hoc committee, I'd rather do an ad hoc committee, come up with it, identify what we want to do and go from there. But I have no problems with awarding dollars to Lemoore. It wasn't necessarily an emergency request. It was just a request. So,
I can respect that. I mean, we also made decisions to spend money already as well. So
And that was
that's
the
where I was
thing.
coming from.
The AdCot is for other stuff. This was for
I understand.
our city people.
I understand perfectly.
Okay.
Should I go get the mayor?
Yes, you can.
So Mary, what does that actually mean? If we go to the ad hoc committee and then the ad hoc committee decides to do something like that, we could do it a
So the
second time?
ad hoc committee doesn't make decisions.
No, I
They'll
know,
make
but did they give a
recommendations to
recommendation?
council. They will.
What I'm saying is, so that motion can come back up.
Correct. It's not
At
a
any
motion you
time?
can't ever make again.
Or more.
Okay.
So during, where were we at? Public comment. So Marissa, is there any other public comment online? None? Any other public comment in the room?
Thanks,
No?
everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and bring it back to council. Is there any other further discussion on this study session? No, seeing none. Okay,
Good job.
so
Thank you.
we'll go ahead and adjourn. And that will take us into
Close.
our closed session.
Do you need to read it out?
Yeah. So, welcome again to the Lemoore City Council Chambers, 429 C Street, November 2nd, 2021. Please silence all electronic devices as courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you very much. This is going to be the 6:30 PM closed session. Items have been set aside for the city council to meet in a closed session. Sorry. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D4. The city attorney will provide an oral report regarding the closed session at the beginning of the next regular city council meeting. 1, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, City Manager. 2, Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiator agency.
I think you're on the wrong agenda. There's
Am I
no labor
really?
negotiations.
Oh, that's all.
Government Code Section 54, oh, I'm sorry, number 2, Government Code Section 54956.9, conference with legal counsel, exposure to litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of section 54956.9, one case. And 3, Government Code Section 54956.9 D1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation and national perspection opiate litigation, U.S. District Court, North ND, Ohio, Eastern Division, case number 117 MD 2804. And 4, Government Code Section 54956.9, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D, section 54956.9, one case. In the event that all the items on the closed session have not been deliberated in the time provided, the city council may continue the closed session at the end of the regular scheduled council meeting. And yes, you're 100% correct, because I remember even the date was wrong, wasn't it? I said November 2nd. I did. So number 1 might be wrong also, and it was. So the first thing we're going to discuss will be Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Performance. Oh, no, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, we are in closed session.
Chester, we go in the back.
Okay, all right, you got the right one. Let's see here. Where should I start? To silence all electronic devices as a courtesy of those in attendance. Thank you very much. And go ahead and we'll call the meeting to order, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. So please, everybody stand for invocation. And after invocation is complete, please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor John Ecker.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for your provision. We thank you for an opportunity again to just gather and do business for the city of Lemoore. Lord, thank you for each individual who gives of their time and efforts to do the best for this community. Lord, pray that you would grant them wisdom and just guide them in their decisions. Pray that your hand would be upon this community just for protection. Again, thank you for the first responders who serve our community, for the military who serve our community each and every day. Lord, pray that you would again protect them and guide them in their service to their country and their community. And again, just be with us throughout this evening. And as we seek you, just guide us in every decision that is made and continue to have your hand upon the city of Lemoore. In your name we pray. Amen.
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor John.
Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and do roll call.
Good evening, Councilmember Orth,
Here.
Councilmember Gornick,
Here.
Councilmember Cheney.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Matthews.
Here.
Mayor Lyons.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Closed session report.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So reporting out of closed session, there was a motion made by Councilmember Orth to opt in to the settlement for the National Prescription Opiate Litigation, U.S. District Court, ND, Ohio, Eastern Division, case number 117 MD 2804. There was a second by Mayor Pro Tem. The vote was as follows: Councilmember Orth, yes; Mayor Pro Tem, yes; Councilmember Cheney, yes; Councilmember Gornick, yes; and Mayor Lyons, yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you. Agenda approval, additions and or deletions. And seeing that there's none, we're going to go ahead and go to public comment. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes. And it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and the appropriate staff. Public comment will be available for items on the agenda. So with that being said, is there any public comments tonight? Yes, sir. Please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
Good evening.
Good
to be
evening.
here.
Good evening.
Jules Amores. I'm active duty, actually military, stationed in Lemoore. I actually live in Hanford, but part of Kings County. I'm always here in Lemoore.
Okay.
The reason I'm here tonight because I'm also the administrator of the Filipino of Kings County. It's a social media group which was founded and created not too long ago, last year, April last year. And what we had actually here is that, if you don't mind me, can I distribute it? So a little bit of background about Filipino Kings County. This group was actually established with the intent to provide a sense of community and a cultural awareness through events and education as well. Christmas is known to be a time of celebration. So we would like to cordially invite you, council members, or anybody who would like to show up during our event, because the Filipino Kings County will be holding a Filipino community holiday and youth sports event that will take place on December 4th, this coming December. It will be at the Heritage Park in Lemoore, of course. And this is an all-day event, and it's and our official opening is actually around 11 o'clock in the morning. So that will be our lunchtime. And it's free, of course. And this event will support local youth group success through sports, increase family engagement, as well as arrange an appropriate Christmas party for those in need. As a valued community leader, the council members, we would like to kindly request your support through your presence and participation. This will be a great and fun opportunity for you to experience Filipino culture through traditional Filipino games, dancing, music, and of course, food, right? Like you guys like lumpia and pancit, you know? So like I said, in addition to this one here, we'll be holding youth family athletic events such as basketball, tennis, and the talent show as well. So we hope to consider this opportunity to support this special event, as your presence will be very much appreciated by the Filipino community and youth group in this area right here. So if anybody would like to show up, I'm also gonna give you the chance to introduce yourself and say something what you can do for the community or the great things that the council have done to the community as well. So like I said, it will be a whole day event. I know same day with the parade, but we'll be whole day from 9 till 8 o'clock at night. But then our official opening will be at 11 o'clock. So and the last time we had it was actually in July 18th, not so long ago. And we're all expecting maybe like about 60 people. But to be conversatively saying, almost 200 people actually showed up last time. And everybody enjoyed it. And it's all volunteer. There's a lot of people that volunteer a lot of stuff. It's free, it's potluck. And we're expecting more people to participate this coming December 4th. So your support will really be appreciated.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, and like I told you, sir, you guys will be welcome there too as well, all day long. Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's hear our online public comment. Who is it from?
Hi, I think I heard my name. Great, thank you. This is very short and minor. I'm a resident here at Lemoore, right at Heinlein and D Street. And about a month ago, there's several residents that live in a 6 units in the second story right above the carniceria. And also just half a block down, senior citizens, number of homes also on the second floor. And we all got posted in that area around that block or signs that on Tuesdays and Fridays there'll be street sweeping and no parking was allowed early in the mornings. And having lived here for several months, that was never enforced. About a month ago, we all got just courtesy warnings from the police department, tickets that was going to begin to be enforced. And so I'm here looking for more information about that, why that was changed, and also that since that first courtesy warning from the police department, which was very kind, that streets haven't been swept and it hasn't been enforced for any residents who were parking those Tuesdays and Fridays in the mornings. So I'm here looking for a little bit more information on that on my behalf, as well as the behalf of those other residents here.
Just get his name. We'll call.
Ben, I'm actually gonna send you a chat. You can send me your name and your phone number and we can give you a call with more information.
Okay, I can put mine here on the public as well.
Okay, Ben, is that good enough of an answer, or would you?
I didn't, that if I can get more information from the kind of lady who responded, then I'd be happy to talk to her.
All right. Well, thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Do you have any other public comment, Marissa?
No, just that. I think that you would.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ben. I was talking to the kind lady also.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think that at least, well, I'll say at least for the residents, the big question is if we can't park there where we have been, and as well as for that storefront owner, Jose and his wife, if we can't park there for those times, if the council or the city had any recommendation on where we could park. Thank you.
Thank you. You have none? Okay. So is there any other public comment in the room? Okay, just wanted to. Oh, come to the podium, yeah.
I'm sorry.
But council, you can go ahead and allow a second comment, but then you need to open it back up to everybody for a second comment. That's just procedural.
Yep.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry about that. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
just like to point out that I don't know if there's anything we can do about the restroom or the toilet in the Heritage Park, because we've been calling about that for the last time when we had our event and it wasn't really workable
Okay,
for the public. I don't know if we get anything done before the event.
all right.
Thank you, sir.
What's wrong with them? Or can I ask that?
There's no water. And yeah, it's no
There's no water?
There's no water. Yeah, it's not flushable. It's nothing, no water, running water in the toilet itself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Marissa? Okay. Okay, well, we'll move on from public comment to ceremonial presentation, and seeing none, we're going to go to the department city manager reports. It's on.
Okay, yeah, so first up is Michelle Spear.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just a few brief updates. So just a reminder that tomorrow morning is our employee appreciation breakfast. We're serving breakfast for our employees at 6:30, 7:30, and 8:30. For those of you who would like to share in the joy of early morning cooking, you can meet us there between 5:30 and 6. We'd be happy to see you.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess we've been just
Added
just a
15
little-
minutes to it.
And then let's see, what else do I have? We are required by law to go through the redistricting process as well. You'll recall several weeks ago, the county was here with their process. Our first redistricting meeting is going to be hosted here in this building on December 8th at 5:30. And we have a consultant that is going to be providing that work for us. So somebody from NDC will be here. And then just a reminder that city offices are closed for the Thanksgiving holiday next Thursday and Friday, November 25th and 26th. I cannot believe it's already the end of November.
Right?
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Where are we meeting at tomorrow morning at?
Oh, I'm
5:30?
sorry. You're going to meet in the recreation building in the kitchen that's right off the little track.
That's where that's at.
I'll
So,
show
okay.
So you're going to go into the rec center and you're going to walk almost all the way down the full length of the wall and it's on your right.
How many of us are going to be cooking, you think?
How many of you are willing to get out of bed early? Myself,
Well, I'll be there,
Nathan,
Michelle. for
the
sure.
chief, right, chief? Yep.
Sweet.
I'll be there at 6.
Okay, we'll see you at 6.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
shooting for 5:30. We'll see what time I actually. get there.
okay, so several
Okay.
of us.
Yeah, that'd be enough.
Thank
I
you.
just want to know what to bring.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and council members. So just a couple things for me. One is just received an email earlier today. We still have equipment delays. The big plasma unit that's coming out of Finland is delayed in shipping. The new delivery now is mid to late January, and that is for ongoing wastewater testing. So it was supposed to have been here any day, and they just sent notice out that it's still hung up in the
Harbor.
harbor still. They're hoping late January. So disappointing, but still the ball's moving forward. And then wanted to talk about the council meetings over the holidays. Typically, the agendas get kind of light during the holiday season because we got much staff members on vacation. So staff is looking tonight to see if council would entertain the idea of canceling the 12/21 council meeting. Looking forward right now, the week of Christmas. Doesn't look like we have anything for that agenda. And so right now, we're just wanting to see if council's okay with going
Need
ahead.
a motion?
What's that?
You don't need a motion, just
Or
consensus.
just consensus then. And then also on 1/4, I don't know if we'd have an event or not. Typically, we leave some of these on the agenda or on schedule, and if we don't need them, we just cancel them. But I know for sure we won't need both those meetings, so we're looking to cancel 12/21. And if we have stuff for 1/4, we'll have a meeting, but if we don't have, then we might send out a cancellation prior to that meeting. But I wanted to at least firm up 12/21 so people can make plans for their holiday travels.
I'm good.
We know where Frank stands.
He
I
wanted
think
a
I've got
motion.
3 already that are good with 12/21. Okay,
Oh, I guess that's all you need, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would agree to the 12/21, but not the 1/4 because that long off and I would get really rusty at this and I feel like I bumped through it as it is. but-
I would miss y'all too much.
I know.
we'll leave 1/4 on,
I
but
was say, leave 1/4 because we may have to do a committee or two.
I know Michelle loves coming to these things, so
favorite part of her month.
yeah, I'm telling you.
Okay, and then that's it, not me. Thank you.
Okay, so that takes us to the consent calendar, section 3. Items considered routine in nature are placed on the consent calendar. They will be considered and voted upon in one vote as one item unless a council member or a member of the public requests individual consideration. 3-1, approval of minutes, regular meeting, October 19th, 2021. 3-2, approval of the second reading ordinance 2021-08, adding chapter 1.5 to title 4 to Lemoore Municipal Code, implementing mandatory organic waste disposal reduction, SB 1383. 3-3, approval of resolution 2021-28, authorizing continued use of remote teleconferencing provisions, AB 361. 3-4, approval of resolution 2021-29, review and renew the declaration of a local emergency and the related declarations and orders therein. 3-5, approval of the bid award SB1 street improvement, the CIP 5018. 3-6, approval of bid award water treatment plan chemicals. 3-7, approval of the Tyler Technologies contract amendment for conversion services. And 3-8, approval agreement between the city of Lemoore and Adage for the methane remediation. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it to council. Would council like to pull any of the items on consent calendar? Okay, seeing none. I'm going to go ahead and open it to the public. Would anybody in the public like to pull any items on the consent calendar? None, Marissa, you have none? Okay, I'm gonna bring it back to council. I will entertain a motion at this time to accept the consent calendar as read.
Motion.
Go second.
Okay, Mr. Orr and Ms. Matthews. So, Mr. Orr,
Aye.
Ms. Matthews,
Aye.
Mr. Gornick,
Aye.
Mr. Cheney.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. So consent calendar passes. And with that, we have no public hearing and no new business tonight. So that takes us to the brief council reports and requests. And Mr. Orth.
I'd like to take the opportunity, I didn't get a chance last time to congratulate the firefighter and the police officer of the year. They did a great job, and hearing the stats for both of those over the year is awesome, how much work they do. So I want to personally give my opportunity to thank them both for what they do. Shows a dedication to our city that we all love. I also like to thank all the fire and police, everything they do, and all the city staff. I think tomorrow's going to be a great event. I hope everybody shows up and gets their food. I just want to announce that we're going to do an ad hoc committee out there. Anyone wants to get involved, we're going to put it in our Facebook or city staff to apply. We're looking for citizens to help us make some decisions with this ARPA money. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll have it up on our Facebook and all that stuff so we can get some input and help our city grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orth. Mr. Gornick.
Nothing to report on other than to just wish everybody a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Mr. Cheney.
Just want to thank all the city employees, but specifically the fire department and the police department. And I guess as far as the police department, Chief Kiggle needs to stock up on his employee of the year, Officer Gresham, with some whey protein so he can get a little bigger. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cheney. So Myth and Matthews, we're going to skip you and I'm going to go in front of you tonight. And because I know you're going to go ahead and hit all the points that I would have normally hit. And I just would like to thank all the city staff. I would like to thank the fire and the police department. And with that being said, I also would like to thank everyone that attended the Veterans Parade. I know she's going to talk about it, but I'm going to go ahead and say, because never mind, I won't say that. But I got the firsthand view. I was in it, and I was pleasantly shocked at how many people were there.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of people. You would have thought that was the Christmas parade. And I was so glad to have a traditional parade. Man, that felt good. I think people are just dying for something to do. So with that, Ms. Matthews is going ahead and end our evening by telling us all kinds of stuff. So on your mark, get set, go.
Are you sure you didn't want to talk about the tree raising?
No.
Okay, I got you.
I knew you were.
Yes. First of all, I do have a little bit to report out from KWRA, the committee that I sit on. It does look like the thoughts of possibly dissolving the JPA are no longer on the table. It looks like we're moving away from that and just moving forward, which is good. We can kind of move forward with business as usual. I did request that we have a presentation for the recyclables, like I had mentioned last month, what goes in what container. So hopefully we can get that on the schedule. There is a KCAO food distribution on the 23rd of this month. I'm 24th, I apologize. 24th of this month. It's advertised at 9 a.m. But if you know anybody that's going to go, please tell them to get there early. We usually run out of food by 9 a.m. People are lined up pretty early for that. And that's located at Lifeway Church on Bush Street. You'll probably just drive down Bush, you'll find the line. I did attend the Veterans Day 3 and 5K run walk on November 6th. I believe there
Did you
were
do 'em all?
over, Did I what?
Did you do them all? The 3, 5?
I was going to participate, but
Yeah.
Sheila needed a volunteer, so I
Yeah.
happily
Uh,
volunteered. But it was pretty awesome because I got to greet everybody as they were coming through the little gate and give them their medals. So that was probably more fun than, it was definitely more fun than running it. But it was crazy that there were over 200 people that registered for that event in town. So again, very well attended by citizens and people from far away even. So that was pretty awesome. The Veterans Day Parade was, as the mayor said, was a huge success. Shout out to the Parks and Rec, the Lions Club that was out there. I didn't catch which one it was, but everybody was awesome. All the volunteers and policing for everything that they were doing to help keep everything run smooth. All of the people that participated in the parade and all the people that showed up, like Lemoore really showed up big, which was great. Reminder that the downtown Lemoore Holiday Stroll will be November 20th from 3 to 7 p.m. downtown on D Street. There'll be the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department tree raising event November 27th from noon to 4 on D Street and Fox. The Christmas parade, December 4th. If you're interested in having a float, see the chamber. Really? He just handed me his watch. Now you threw me off and it's going to take longer. Just kidding. Don't forget also Breakfast with Santa is December 12th at 8 a.m. to noon, and that's going to be at the Lemoore Recreation Center. Something else that I had mentioned at a previous council meeting was kind of like my unofficial Awesome Human Award. That's not really an award, but I just want to, the person who I would pick for my unofficial award would be Chief Kendall, actually. I met with him a little while ago. I thought it was going to be like a 10-minute meeting. We talked for quite a while, actually. It was a very, very good meeting. His heart for the community and the department is second to none. You're a real solid dude. He's very easy to talk to. And I think that we're lucky to have him running our police department. So you're the winner of the unofficial Awesome Human Award.
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Matthews. That was some kind of
Okay,
report.
fine.
And Chief, oh, I'm sorry, you weren't done?
No, I'm done. I think I
And,
was just going to thank the other city staff too, but it's okay. Everybody else did.
okay, so congratulations, Chief Kendall, on your unofficial
Awesome Human.
Awesome Human Award.
Yes.
And like she said, I thought she was going to touch on it a lot better, the tree raising. So the weekend following Thanksgiving. So that's Sunday. And she said it's 12 to 4 and it's literally going to take from 12 to 4 if you come out. So if you guys come out, bring a chair because it will take from 12 to 4.
You told me to keep it
Yeah.
short, so I
So,
cut out some
You're
detail.
welcome. Thank you. And we're adjourned.